Before I get into this, there's an emergency. Do we have a firefighter in the house? Do you see? You have a firefighter? Okay. Mark Carney's pants are on fire again today. Can you help? Can you help? Did you hear his latest whopper? Yeah, today, Mark Carney was caught lying about the Trump telephone call because he wanted to distract from the lost Liberal decade of rising cost and crime to trick Canadians.
Who can forget Pierre Poilievre's classic rhetorical firebomb at Mark Carney from a month ago during his campaign? Now, of course, some things are meant just to sting and stick, but Pierre's focus has been the same. Blunt and focused on exposing Mark Carney for his untrustworthy promises.
Into electing Liberals for a fourth disastrous term. We cannot trust Mark Carney and the Liberals to a fourth Liberal term, because if they're lying about this, they'll lie about inflation and taxes and housing costs and crime and everything else that matters in our daily lives.
He pointed out that if Carney can lie so openly about the Trump phone call, who's to say he didn't lie to the people during his campaign, and as the Prime Minister of Canada, too? It might be a heavy accusation, but Pierre brought out the receipts. He really wanted Canadians to know that he felt their sense of frustration being squeezed on all fronts. To be fair, even after the elections, it continues to leave some major doubts about the Liberals' credibility. Unfortunately for Canadians, it looks like nothing has changed, even after Carney came into power.
Because Mr. Carney has not changed. Mr. Carney, in 2020, it was recorded, you began advising Justin Trudeau. It's still on the Liberal Party website today that you are Justin Trudeau's economic advisor. They might want to update your website on that.
Poilievre had no intention of holding back when he decided to link Mark Carney to Justin Trudeau's legacy, which ended with Canada on the brink of an economic disaster. It was clear from their last debate, where Poilievre tried showing all of Canada that Carney was not, in fact, any different from Trudeau. He stressed the importance of breaking that Liberal continuity, which had resulted in rising living costs, public safety concerns, and economic stagnation.
The choice in this election is, after a lost Liberal decade of rising cost and crime and a falling economy under America's thumb, do we want to elect them to a fourth term? Or do we want to change? Change so that you can afford food and homes. Change so that you can be safe on your street, and change so that your paycheck grows faster than your cost of living. Change with a new Conservative government. Because Mr. Carney has not changed.
Poilievre might not be the perfect candidate himself, but at least he tells it as it is. He wanted the people to know that even the website wasn't up to date. And while it was only a jab, it meant something to the people. This isn't just about policies. It's about branding. And to be fair to Poilievre, he's been on Carney's case long before the elections and continues to do so after that too.
Good governing, with the Liberals introducing their first bill.
Measures that will deliver real change by cutting taxes for Canadians.
The government promising more economic change in the throne speech.
The government will introduce legislation to remove all remaining federal barriers to internal trade and labour mobility by Canada Day.
But that moved the goalposts on a core Carney campaign promise.
Now, this is a major problem. Most politicians don't deliver on everything they promise, but to go back on a core issue is problematic, to say the least. Carney had promised free trade by the 1st of July 2025, but the throne speech with King Charles in attendance revealed a major shift. There's no more talk about the elimination of trade barriers. Instead, the Liberals, led by Carney, are talking more about introducing the legislation to do so. That's a walk back in any book. Of course, the right was never going to let that slide, and Pierre chimed in with his 2 cents.
We will build one Canadian economy, not 13, with a government committed to free trade in Canada by Canada Day.
A contradiction the Conservatives picked up on.
No specific plans to get anything done, even though, as the Prime Minister has said, we are in a crisis to break our dependence on the American economy.
He was, once again, sharp and precise. Poilievre called out the lack of concrete planning and even suggested that vague pledges are exactly what got Canada here in the first place. The writing's on the wall. Carney shakes hands with royalty and promises action, while Poilievre, on behalf of Canada, asks for results and accountability. There's not much time left for Carney to make his mark on the Canadians, and any wrong steps here could be fatal to his time as Prime Minister, especially with Poilievre waiting there for him to slip up. Fact is, the difference between the two couldn't be more prominent. In Poilievre's own words,
Sincerity, for one. Mr. Carney opposed all of these policies for 10 years as part of the Liberal government. I mean, look, he advised Trudeau to print money and run up huge deficits that drove inflation. He opposes pipelines and energy production here in Canada.
maybe Canada was more in need of a Poilievre at this point than Mark Carney. The difference is in the track records. Poilievre believes that Carney simply isn't sincere, not with himself, and definitely not with the people of Canada. According to Pierre, the Prime Minister has spent years opposing policies which he now embraces, and if that's not a major cause for concern for the people of Canada, then who knows what should be.
His policy on housing is the same as Trudeau's, building up monstrous bureaucracies in Ottawa. His latest is a $35 billion government construction company, which is going to build prefab tiny homes with no driveways. What could possibly go wrong?
From fiscal restraints, energy independence to housing reforms, the opposition believes Carney's arrival on these major issues is too late to be considered sincere, especially given how he changed his tune after the public opinion shifted. Is that really the kind of person who should lead Canada? Poilievre has been waving the same flag from the first day. He believes that those monstrous bureaucracies in housing and the justice system going soft are a strong indication of the danger Canada is in. Course correction is the need of the hour, and Carney only brings continuity. He may promise change, but his ideas and conduct are nothing but a continuation of the way Justin Trudeau was running the country not too long ago.
Let's take a listen to him.
His finance minister said there would be no budget this year for the first time outside of COVID in approximately 2 decades. Then the Prime Minister came out and said, well, there will be a budget, but it will be in the fall when half of the fiscal year is over. How do you budget for something that has already happened? Maybe they think that budgets will balance themselves.
The caucus address was another nightmare for Carney's government, as he painted a rosy picture of a new economic and security relationship with the U.S. The underlying concern for everyone remained the same. This is the very same government that hasn't produced a budget for the year. Can we really trust their fluff? Poilievre went straight to the point with it. He demanded answers to questions like, where is the budget? What's the delay? Why do Canadians have to wait until fall for a financial plan? And like it usually is, his critique wasn't exactly rhetorical. It hit close to home for millions of Canadians frustrated with the rising taxes and the skyrocketing debt. Meanwhile, the government is all about buzzwords.
We need a budget to cut bureaucracy, consultants, foreign aid, and corporate welfare to generate the savings for lower debt, taxes, and inflation. For too long, workers and small businesses have carried this morbidly obese government on their backs. They can't afford it. They can't bear it anymore.
It really is hard to take Carney seriously when his government has been floating the idea of skipping the budget entirely. No one wants another round of committees and consultations. The people of Canada want leadership that understands urgency. And no matter how much he tries to force it, Carney, with all his technocratic polish, can't produce it. Poilievre was quick to remind Canadians about what it's like to be under Liberal rule. Delayed housing plans, workers paying the price, inflating bureaucracies, and whatnot. And while he was speaking the truth, it didn't take long to register with the masses because they're very much living the reality. Now, Poilievre's seat loss has kept him out, but his influence hasn't diminished. In fact, if anything, it will only make it bigger, as he is calling out the government, which is getting way too comfortable with incompetence.
On June 3rd of 2021, you said that inflation would be a sign of economic progress. And you advised governments, including Justin Trudeau's, your Liberal government, to print money, which led to the worst inflation crisis in a generation. Now, that means that mothers went to bed with empty fridges and empty bank accounts, worried how they'd feed their kids, that seniors worried they'd be evicted from their homes, that young people believed they'd never be able to own a home in the first place.
But you have to circle back to their heated exchange during the debate. Poilievre truly put Carney on the defensive, and if not for the already existing massive support for the Liberals, this could have been the turning point in the elections. Poilievre has maintained that Carney isn't honest with the people, and that's probably the most important part of being a leader. Then he dug in and asked Carney about his policies in 2021, where he labeled inflation as a sign of progress.
I know you want to be running against Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau isn't here.
Are you denying you were his economic advisor?
I did not provide any of that advice. I did not provide any of that advice.
It's on the Liberal Party website.
I'm sorry.
Are you accusing your Liberal Party of lying about your role? Because it says today you can go to the Liberal Party website now, and it says that you were Justin Trudeau's economic advisor.
The way you judge.
That was when Carney convinced the Trudeau government to print vast amounts of money during the pandemic, and all that would result in one of the worst inflation-related crises in Canadian history. Poilievre was quick to point out how the impact of that policy was very real for Canadian citizens. Parents had to skip meals to feed kids, seniors feared evictions, and young Canadians saw their dreams of becoming homeowners slip away further and further out of reach. Carney tried to deflect, saying how Poilievre would have preferred debating against Trudeau instead, but the fact is, he never directly responded to the question Pierre asked. Will he apologize for those inflationary policies? There was no way he was going to let Mark get in, though. So he asked him if he was accusing the Liberal Party of lying about his involvement when the policy was made. That's where Carney's credibility gap widened. So he could either deny the advice or call his own party out. And neither answer is flattering, to say the least.
In my view, is how they act. What they do when they have responsibility. Twice I was a central bank governor. And in both cases, if I may, in both cases when I was responsible for inflation, inflation was less than 2%. I'll add that when I was here responsible for the Bank of Canada, inflation was less than 2%. Our dollar was at parity.
You can see Carney doesn't even want to be there. It's evident that he wants to be some sort of a technocratic savior, someone who's calm under pressure and can steady Canada through stormy waters. But if that debate proved anything, it's this. Carney fumbles under pressure, and he did exactly that when he was being held accountable. He had nothing to say when Poilievre pushed him for answers. How can the Prime Minister of Canada be a detached expert and a key figure in Trudeau-era policy-making, depending on what's more convenient? There was no pivoting back from this argument, just like there might not be a way back for the Liberals in the next elections.
Was at parity. That is the kind of success that I can deliver for this country coming out of this crisis. And what is at stake here?
You were the economic advisor to Justin Trudeau that gave us the worst inflation that we have had in a generation, because the policies that you implemented and those of the MPs that are still in your ministry.
To the
fellow Canadians,
crisis which
the last 10 years has been about the Liberals. The next 10 years should be about you.
The masses are slowly coming around to the fact that the Liberal fiscal policy has done more damage than good. It's important to note that Poilievre wasn't asking Carney to own the economic pain suffered by Canadians. He simply wanted him to pick a lane. If he were an advisor back then, he would share responsibility. If he wasn't, why did the Liberal Party market him as such? For all his poise, that's when Carney looked cornered. He didn't have much to say. It was more than just a gotcha moment. It was something of a reminder that Canadians will have to live with these policies for another term. But with all that said and done, it's likely even Poilievre didn't see his prediction coming true this fast.
You know, it's ironic. Mr. Carney is trying to distract from his many scandals and conflicts of interest, as well as his disastrous record as Justin Trudeau's economic advisor, by talking about Trump. He's the guy that sold out to Trump. 6 days after Donald Trump threatened Canada with tariffs to steal our jobs, Mark Carney announced to Brookfield shareholders that he would move his headquarters from Canada to New York. And when you asked him about it, he lied to your face. We got it in writing, and we proved it. He sold out Canada. He put his profit ahead of our people. And he did exactly what Donald Trump wanted. Never before have we had a prime minister so conflicted and compromised, and yet so little scrutinized. Just like when he supported carbon taxes in Canada while investing in American coal. He opposed Canadian pipelines while his company bought Middle East pipelines.
If it wasn't clear before, it's crystal clear now. Carney has often put profit before his own country. He sold out to Trump and then accused Poilievre of cozying up to the U.S. president. All this while, he misleads Canadians as he profits from the very industries he's opposing publicly. It's not bad policy making. It's the lack of trust and transparency from the Carney administration that is the biggest problem for Canada right now. When it comes to the future of Canada, only one person, Pierre Poilievre, is asking the right questions, and he's not getting any answers from Mark Carney. Who do you think is on the right side of this debate? If you enjoyed watching Pierre's takedown, don't forget to watch our video on Keir Starmer berating J.D. Vance.